You are tired, in a way that sleep does not seem to touch. It is not just your body that is heavy tonight. It is something underneath the body, something behind your eyes, something sitting on your chest like a weight you never agreed to carry, but carry anyway, because no one else seemed to reach for it. So you did. You picked it up quietly. You didn't make a scene of it. You just started carrying. The worry about tomorrow, the ache from yesterday, the waiting on an answer that hasn't come, the fear that maybe it never will. And somewhere along the way, carrying it became normal. It became who you are, the one who holds it together, the one who doesn't fall apart, even when falling apart would be the honest thing to do. Tonight, I want to say something to you gently, because you don't need anything shouted at you right now. You need something said softly, the way truth should be said to someone who is exhausted. You were never meant to carry this alone. Not the fear, not the grief, not the confusion about what comes next, not the guilt you keep replaying at 2 a.m, not the anger you've swallowed so many times it feels like it lives in your stomach now. None of it was meant for your hands to hold forever. There is someone who has been waiting, not impatiently, not with arms crossed, but waiting with open hands for you to set it down. Let that sink in for a moment. Not to fix, not to solve, just to sink in. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to stop pretending you have the strength to manage everything on your own. You are allowed to stop performing peace you don't actually feel. You are allowed to stop holding your breath, waiting for the next hard thing to hit, bracing yourself before it even arrives. Bracing is exhausting, and you have been bracing for a long time. So tonight, before your body finally lets go into sleep, I want to walk with you through something. Not a formula, not a technique, just an honest release. A slow letting go of what was never yours to hold in the first place. Breathe in slowly, and as you breathe out, imagine setting something down. Not throwing it, not forcing it away, just setting it down. The way you'd set down a bag you've been carrying all day, finally home, finally safe enough to put it by the door. What is it you're carrying tonight? Maybe it's a diagnosis you weren't ready to hear. Maybe it's a relationship that ended before you were finished loving the person in it. Maybe it's a decision you have to make and you're terrified of choosing wrong. Maybe it's simply the weight of being needed by everyone, all the time, with no one asking how you're doing in return. Whatever it is, it has a name. You know its name even if you haven't said it out loud. Say it now, quietly in your own mind, not to anyone else, just to the one who already knows, but who wants you to bring it to him yourself, the way a child brings a broken toy to a parent. Not because the parent doesn't already see the break, but because something in the bringing itself begins the healing. You don't have to explain it perfectly. You don't have to have the right words. You don't have to make sense of your own pain before you're allowed to hand it over. Just bring it as it is, messy, unfinished, still bleeding a little. He is not afraid of your mess. He is not overwhelmed by your questions. He is not tired of your same worry showing up again and again, even after you thought you'd surrendered it already. Surrender is not a one-time event. It is something you do again. And again, and again, every time the weight tries to climb back onto your shoulders. So, if you've surrendered this before and it came back, that is not failure. That is simply what it means to be human, carrying something heavy in a world that keeps handing you more. Tonight, surrender it again. And if it comes back tomorrow, surrender it again then too. There is no shame in that. There is only faithfulness in the returning. Let your shoulders drop. Not because everything is suddenly resolved, not because the situation has changed, but because you are choosing, in this moment, to stop holding it with white-knuckled hands and instead let it rest in hands that are far more capable than yours. Your hands were made for many things, holding a cup of coffee in the morning, holding the hand of someone you love, holding a pen, a tool, a moment of quiet. But your hands were never made to hold the weight of the future. That was never their job. You have been trying to do a job that was never assigned to you, and that is why you are so tired. Let it be someone else's job tonight. Let it be his. Think about how much energy you spend trying to control outcomes you have no real control over. The way a conversation might go, the way a diagnosis might turn out, the way a decision might unfold 5 years from now. You spend so much of yourself gripping tightly to things that were never solid enough to hold onto in the first place. What would it feel like to open your hands? Not to stop caring, Not to stop hoping, not to become numb or indifferent, but to simply open your hands and let what is not yours to control fall gently into hands that were always meant to hold it. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. The strongest thing you can do tonight is admit you are not strong enough to carry this alone. That admission is not defeat. It is the doorway into rest. So many people mistake surrender for giving up. But surrender is not giving up on your life. It is giving up the illusion that you were ever meant to run it entirely by yourself. You were made for partnership, not isolation. You were made to be carried, not just to carry. Let that truth settle into your chest tonight, right where the heaviness has been sitting. Feel your breathing slow down. With each breath, picture the weight becoming lighter. Not because the circumstances have changed, not because tomorrow's problems have disappeared, but because you are no longer facing them with clenched fists and a held breath. You are facing them with open hands and a released exhale. There is peace available to you tonight that has nothing to do with your situation improving. It is a peace that exists underneath the situation, a quiet floor beneath the chaos, a steadiness that doesn't ask you to fix everything before you're allowed to feel it. You are allowed to feel peace even while things are still unresolved. You are allowed to sleep even while the question is still unanswered. You are allowed to rest even while the outcome is still unknown. This is the kind of peace that doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from trusting someone who already has it figured out, even when you don't understand how. Let your mind stop reaching for control tonight. You have spent so much energy trying to hold the pieces together, trying to predict what happens next, trying to protect yourself from every possible outcome. But you cannot predict everything. You cannot protect yourself from everything. And you were never meant to. You were meant to trust. Trust is not the absence of fear. Trust is choosing to set the fear down anyway, even while it's still whispering in your ear. Trust is not a feeling you wait to arrive before you act. Trust is a decision you make with trembling hands, and then the peace follows after. So decide tonight. Decide to trust, even without all the answers. Decide to rest, even without full understanding. Decide to let go, even while your instincts tell you to hold on tighter. Let go. Let it be carried by hands stronger than yours. Think about everything you've been holding this week, the unspoken worry about your finances, the quiet fear about your health, or the health of someone you love, the uncertainty about your purpose, about whether you're doing enough, being enough, becoming who you were meant to become. Set each one down, one at a time. You don't have to set them all down perfectly at once. You can set one down, breathe, and then reach for the next. This is not a race. This is not a performance. This is simply a slow unclenching of hands that have been tightly closed for far too long. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel the tightness in your chest begin to loosen, not because the situation is solved, but because you are no longer carrying it by yourself. There is something powerful about being witnessed in your weariness, not judged, not fixed, just witnessed, just seen. And tonight, you are seen. Every tear you've held back, every sigh you've swallowed, every moment you smiled on the outside while breaking quietly on the inside, all of it has been seen. You were never as alone as you felt, even in the moments when no one checked on you, even in the nights when you cried without anyone knowing, even in the mornings when you had to get up and function despite carrying something no one else could see. You were not alone in those moments. There has been a presence with you the whole time, patient and unhurried, waiting for you to stop pretending you didn't need help. You need help, and that is not a weakness to be ashamed of. That is simply the truth of being human. Let yourself need help tonight. Let yourself be the one who receives, instead of always being the one who gives. Let yourself be carried, instead of always being the one who carries everyone else. This is your permission slip, if you needed one. Permission to rest, permission to not have it all together, permission to fall apart quietly tonight, and trust that you will be held together by something greater than your own effort. You do not have to hold yourself together anymore tonight. Let your body sink into the bed beneath you. Let your mind stop cycling through tomorrow's list of worries. Let your heart stop bracing for the next hard thing. Just for tonight, let it all rest. Imagine, if you can, a wide and steady presence surrounding you right now. Not distant, not far off in the sky somewhere, uninvolved, but close. As close as your own breath, as close as the quiet space between one thought and the next. This presence is not asking you to perform. It is not asking you to prove your faith by pretending you're fine. It is simply asking you to be honest and to rest in the honesty. You're tired. Say it. You're afraid. Say it. You're unsure of what happens next. Say it. And in the saying, something loosens. Something that was clenched begins to open. You do not have to carry the unknown tonight. You do not have to solve what cannot yet be solved. You do not have to understand what hasn't been revealed to you yet. You only have to rest. Rest is not passive. Rest is not laziness. Rest is an act of trust. It says, I believe that things will still be held even while I am not holding them. It says, I believe that the world will not fall apart if I stop gripping it so tightly for 8 hours tonight. Let it be held without you for a while. You have carried so much for so long. Tonight, let your hands finally rest at your sides, open, empty, unclenched. Let your breathing become slow and even. Let each exhale carry a little more of the weight away. You are safe enough to let go here. You are safe enough to stop performing strength. You are safe enough to simply be tired and to let that tiredness be met with rest instead of more effort. There is nothing left to prove tonight. There is no one you need to convince that you're okay. There is no version of yourself you need to perform for the people watching, because right now, no one is watching. It is just you, and the quiet and the steady presence that has been holding you long before you ever noticed it. Let yourself be held. Let yourself stop holding on so tightly to outcomes that were never yours to control. Let yourself trust that tomorrow will be met with the same steadiness that is meeting you tonight. You do not have to figure it all out before you fall asleep. You do not have to have a plan for every possibility. You only have to close your eyes and let the weight be carried by something bigger than your own 2 hands. Breathe in and let it go. Breathe in again and let a little more go. With every breath, you are releasing what was never meant to be yours alone. With every breath, you are trusting a little more, gripping a little less, resting a little deeper. This is not the end of your struggle. Tomorrow will still bring its own weight. But tonight, you do not have to carry tomorrow's weight along with today's. Tonight is enough. This breath is enough. This moment of rest is enough. Let your mind grow quiet. Let your body grow heavy in the good way now. The way that means sleep is finally close. Not the way that means burden, but the way that means your body is finally allowed to stop bracing and simply rest. You are not carrying this alone. You never were. Let that truth be the last thing your mind holds onto tonight. Instead of the worry, instead of the fear, instead of the endless replay of everything unfinished. You are held. You are seen. You are not alone in this. And tonight, you can finally rest, because it is no longer only up to you. Let it be carried. Let yourself sleep. Let tomorrow come in its own time, and trust that when it does, you will be met there too, with the same steadiness, the same patience, the same quiet strength that has carried you through every hard night before this one. Rest now. You have carried enough for today. Let it be enough. Close your eyes and let go. There is a particular kind of heaviness that comes from carrying things you were never given permission to put down. Maybe no one ever told you that you were allowed to stop. Maybe you grew up believing that strength meant never needing anyone. Maybe somewhere along the way, you learned that your worth was tied to how much you could handle without complaint. If that is you tonight, I want you to hear this clearly. You were never meant to earn rest by first proving you deserved it. Rest is not a reward for the exhausted. It is a gift freely offered to anyone willing to receive it. You do not have to hit some invisible threshold of suffering before you're allowed to set your burden down. You are allowed to set it down right now, exactly as you are, in the middle of the mess, before anything is resolved. Let's talk about shame for a moment, because shame is often the heaviest thing we carry and the thing we are least willing to name. Maybe there's something from your past that still visits you at night. A choice you made. A moment you weren't proud of. Words you said that you wish you could take back. A version of yourself you've been trying to outrun for years. Shame convinces you that you have to carry that failure forever, as if setting it down would mean pretending it never happened. But that isn't true. Setting it down doesn't erase the past. It simply means you stop letting the past define what you deserve tonight. You are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not disqualified from rest because of what happened yesterday or last year or a decade ago. Let that shame be set down too, right next to the fear, right next to the worry, right next to everything else you've been carrying. It was never meant to be dragged behind you for the rest of your life. There is grace available for exactly what you're ashamed of. Not grace that excuses harm or pretends consequences don't matter, but grace that says, you are still worthy of love even after you have failed. You are still worthy of rest even when you have not been perfect. Let your chest loosen around that shame tonight. Let your breathing soften around every memory that still stings when it surfaces. You do not have to relive it right now. You do not have to solve it or fully understand it. You only have to set it down gently and trust that it is being held by hands more merciful than your own inner critic. Your inner critic has been loud for a long time, hasn't it? Always ready with a comment. Always ready to remind you of what you should have done differently. Always ready to compare you to who you think you should be by now. Let that voice grow quiet tonight. It does not get the final word. There is a gentler voice underneath all that noise. One that has been waiting patiently for the critic to finally tire itself out. A voice that speaks slowly and kindly and without any of the harshness you've grown used to hearing from yourself. That voice says, you are enough, even now, even unfinished, even imperfect, even tired. Let yourself believe that, just for tonight, even if it feels unfamiliar. Even if some part of you resists it, just let it sit there, quietly, without needing to argue with it or prove it wrong. You are enough. Now think for a moment about comparison, because comparison is another weight so many of us carry without even realizing how heavy it has become. The life you thought you'd have by now, the timeline you expected to be on, the way things seem to be working out for other people while you're still waiting, still striving, still wondering when your turn will come. Comparison whispers that you are behind, that you are somehow failing simply by existing on a different timeline than someone else. But comparison is a thief. It steals your ability to see the goodness that is actually present in your own life right now because it keeps your eyes fixed on someone else's story instead of your own. Set comparison down tonight too. Your story does not need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. Your timeline does not need to match anyone else's to be right. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are, and that is not a failure. That is simply where you are in a story that is still being written. Let go of the need to measure your life against a life you are not living. Let go of the pressure to have arrived somewhere by now. Let go of the comparison that has been quietly stealing your peace night after night without you even fully noticing it was happening. You are not behind. You are being carried at exactly the pace you need to be carried, even when it doesn't feel that way. Now think about the future for a moment, because so much of what makes tonight heavy is not actually about tonight. It's about tomorrow and next week and the uncertain months ahead that you cannot see clearly no matter how hard you try to plan for them. You cannot control the future. I know you already know that. But knowing it and living like it's true are two very different things. You have spent so much energy trying to anticipate every possible outcome, trying to prepare for every version of what might go wrong, as if enough worrying might somehow protect you from pain. But worry has never once prevented a single hard thing from happening. It has only made the waiting heavier. Let the future be held by hands that can actually see it clearly, because yours cannot. You are only asked to be faithful today, not to solve tomorrow tonight, not to have every answer before you're allowed to sleep. Just to be faithful with today, and to trust that tomorrow will bring what it brings, met by the same steady presence that has met you every day before this one. Let your mind stop reaching so far ahead. Come back to right now, right here, this breath, this moment, this bed beneath you, this quiet room, this simple, sacred pause in the middle of a life that has been asking a lot of you lately. You are allowed to just be here, in this moment, without needing to solve the next 100 moments after it. Let your thoughts slow down. Let the urgency you've been carrying start to fade. Nothing has to be figured out in this exact moment. Nothing has to be resolved before you're allowed to close your eyes. The weight can wait until morning, and even then, it will not have to be carried alone. I want to remind you of something important before we close tonight. You are loved, not because of what you accomplish, not because of how well you hold it together, not because of how much you manage to carry without breaking down. You are loved simply because you exist. That love was never conditional on your performance. It was never something you had to earn through exhaustion. You can stop earning it tonight. You can simply receive it, the way you'd receive a warm blanket on a cold night without needing to justify why you deserve to be warm. Let that love settle over you now. Let it cover the tired places. Let it cover the anxious places. Let it cover the shame and the comparison and the fear of the future and every other weight you've been quietly carrying without telling anyone. You do not have to tell anyone. He already knows. He has known the whole time. Every unspoken worry, every silent tear, every moment you smiled while breaking on the inside. None of it went unseen. None of it was carried without notice. And now, tonight, you get to set it all down. Not because it's resolved, not because the answers have arrived, but because you are choosing rest over striving, trust over control, surrender over the exhausting effort of holding it all together by yourself. Let your body settle deeper into the bed. Let your breathing slow even further. Let your mind grow quiet, the noise fading like a tide pulling back out to sea, leaving behind a stillness that has been waiting underneath all that noise the whole time. You are safe. You are held. You are not carrying this alone, and you never were. Let sleep come now, gently, the way rest is supposed to come. Not earned, not forced, just received, like a gift finally being unwrapped after being carried unopened for far too long. Whatever tomorrow holds, it will be met with the same steadiness meeting you right now. You do not have to prepare for it tonight. You only have to rest. So rest now. Let it be carried. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let your breathing become slow and even, each exhale releasing a little more of what you've been holding, each inhale drawing in a little more peace than you had a moment before. You have done enough today. You are enough tonight. Let that be the last thought your mind holds on to, softer than any worry, quieter than any fear, steadier than anything you could have said to yourself on your own. You are held. Sleep now, and let him carry it.